Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is new urbanism, and here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab terms and take some notes. So for most of history, cities developed organically. They were constantly changing in response to the needs of their residents. Paris, France is a good example. In the Middle Ages, workers constructed high walls around the city to protect the city's residents. But as Paris grew during the Renaissance, new arrivals to the city built new neighborhoods, the city expanded, and the city walls were torn down and rebuilt to accommodate growth. And then in the 19th century, crowded neighborhoods in the center of town were torn down, replaced by wide boulevards, parks, and underground sewer systems. And then in the 20th century, some of these boulevards were again destroyed in order to create multi-lane highways that could accommodate automobiles. So these examples show that when cities develop organically, they're not planned. Nobody sat down and said, let's build a new city. We'll put a park here and a neighborhood there and a grocery store there. Instead, the cities grew and changed as they needed to. But beginning in the 1980s, some people started to argue that organic growth created problems that planning could prevent. They believed that urban problems like urban decay, segregation, and sprawl could be solved if architects, urban planners, engineers, and developers all worked together to plan urban areas and build them from scratch. And then they controlled how the cities would grow by using zoning ordinances. And zoning ordinances are laws that restrict the ways that a property may be used by its owner. City planners use zoning ordinances to ensure that certain activities are only done in certain areas of the city. There are several different types of zoning ordinances. Residential zoning ordinances regulate homes. They may include rules about a home's height or the amount of land it can take up, as well as the type of buildings allowed in a certain area, like a single-family home or an apartment building. Commercial zoning ordinances regulate businesses. They may include rules about the size of parking lots, the amount of noise or pollution a business is allowed to produce, or the type of business allowed in a certain area, like retail or industrial. Historic zoning ordinances regulate alterations to buildings in areas that have been designated as historic, also called landmarked areas. In landmarked areas, property owners cannot change the appearance of homes or buildings without approval by the city. Mixed-use zoning means that in a given area of the city, land is being used for several different activities. In mixed-use zoning, there are residential, commercial, and industrial areas next to each other in the same neighborhood. Sunset Park in Brooklyn is a good example of mixed-use zoning. There are homes, stores, and factories all next to each other. Single-use zoning means that by law, areas of the city can only be used for one type of activity. Remember how one of the characteristics of sprawl is single-use development? That's what this means. With single-use zoning, residential areas can only have houses. Industrial areas can only have factories, and commercial areas can only have stores. And that's how life is in edge cities like Tyson's Corner, and in the suburbs in general. Every activity is separated in different zones, and to get from one zone to another, you need to drive a car. The age of a city determines what kind of zoning it has. Mixed-use zoning is usually found in older cities which developed before 1945, and that's because these cities developed organically, and because they were built at a time when the dominant mode of transportation was walking. Mixed-use cities include most cities in the Northeast and Midwest of the US. These regions were urbanized long before 1945. Some examples are New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Chicago, Illinois. On the other hand, single-use zoning is in newer cities and suburbs that were built after 1945, when the dominant mode of transportation in the US was automobiles. And single-use cities include most cities in the Sun Belt, the Southwest and the Southeast, which developed after 1945. Some examples are Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, and Phoenix, Arizona. So now let's go back to this idea that planning a city could make it function better than if it grew organically. A lot of urban planners saw things like urban decay, segregation, and sprawl as problems that could be solved through the use of planning and zoning ordinances. And these people's ideas form the basis of a movement called New Urbanism. New urbanism, also called smart growth, refers to development that promotes walkable neighborhoods and a diversity of housing and jobs. Its goals are to reduce how long people spend in traffic, to increase the supply of affordable housing, and to limit urban sprawl. Basically, new urbanism tries to design brand new cities and towns that look like older ones. They are made to be densely populated and easy to walk around in. One of the goals of new urbanism is to promote mixed-use development. When new urbanists build a town, the planners choose a central shopping area and open spaces like a park and develop residential areas around them. Housing, public parks, and commercial activities are all built next to each other. Mixed use. The second goal is to reduce sprawl and automobile dependence. This goal is related to the first because by creating mixed-use development, all activities needed on a daily basis are within walking distance from one another. So people don't need a car to get around. And finally, new urbanism attempts to provide affordable housing by including a mix of housing types in a single area. Smaller and cheaper homes are built next to larger and more expensive ones. Because new urbanist projects require a blank slate on which a new city can be built, they are always found in suburban or formerly rural areas. The most famous new urbanist projects, all designed from the ground up, include Seaside, Florida, West Laguna, California, and the Kentlands in Maryland. New urbanism has some benefits and drawbacks. It's trying to prevent sprawl and encourage walkability, which I think is a good thing. But it also has some problems, which you will learn more about in class. And now it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. And I will see you in class. Bye, students.